Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
With all the rhetoric and all the talk about what's going on, white nationalist, white supremacist, racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, the Democrats attempting to paint Donald Trump as something that he's not, the Democrats trying to hide something that they are, Donald Trump fighting to keep America. Let me repeat that, guys. Donald Trump is fighting to keep America. Freedom of speech, right to bear arms, the right to search and seizure, all the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Donald Trump fighting to keep all that in place. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to New Right Network's original series, SmythTV. Your host, Brian Smith. Giving you all the breaking news of the day, wrapping it all up, making sense of it, exposing the fake news, and giving you the real news every single day, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Right after the show is the Wayne Dupree Show, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern as well. In the description below is the link to Wayne's show. I wanted to do a show today that would showcase and highlight Democrats from yesteryear to Democrats of today. I also want to showcase what socialism and communism and dictatorship of yesteryear compared to that with the Democrats of today. And as we jump right into the show, I just wanted to go over it real quick. The full show notes, the link down in the description below, that link, share that with your friends and your family because the actual show is embedded in that article. So you'll have the article, you'll have all the links, and you'll have the video. So share the show notes link with your friends and your family. And as we jump right into it, I want to get to some of the presidents of past yesteryear. Talk about Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Lyndon Baines Johnson, and Barack Hussein Obama, and what all those presidents have in common, other than the fact that they are all Democrats. We will also wrap up the show there towards the end. I want to put on display the most evil dictators of all time, their ideologies, their policies, what they did, and yes, the responsibility to the millions of deaths that are on their hands. Now, I'm not trying to say that Lyndon Baines Johnson, Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and Obama are responsible for millions of deaths. However, I am here to say that if they are allowed to run free, unfettered control, yes, absolutely, that's exactly what happens. Real time, today, Venezuela. No food and people fighting in the street and murder and violence, all caused by the ideologies of socialism and communism. That is what the Democrats attempting for over 100 years in America to implement here as we fight this every single day. Donald Trump fighting to keep America. Let me repeat that, guys. Donald Trump is fighting to keep America. Freedom of speech, right to bear arms, the right to search and seizure, all the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Donald Trump fighting to keep all that in place. So for those of you snowflakes and trigger-happy liberals out there with what's trending today, dictators, I'm going to show you dictators. I'm going to show you their personality traits, who they are, what they did, versus Donald Trump, a capitalist. The complete opposites, total opposites of the spectrum. And as we talk about Woodrow Wilson, we'll go all the way back 100 years ago, World War I and the debacle. Woodrow Wilson and the article written, National Interest. There's a link there. You can read the full article. Great article to read. But as we go into Woodrow Wilson, he thought he always knew best. Does that sound familiar? Because he thought he knew more than anybody else. Combine that with a powerful humanitarian sensibility, and you get a president who wants to change the world for the betterment of mankind. This written by Robert Mary. Held Germany to the strictest of standards of not harming Americans, even when traveling, and the Lusitania was sunk. Whether that's conspiracy or not, we know for a fact, 100 years later, British documents show that the Lusitania was labeled a warship, and there were American civilians on that ship. 128 American civilians died on the sinking of the Lusitania, and Woodrow Wilson manipulated that to go back on his word. He lied. He said, I kept us out of war, so reelect me. And so he got America to go to war with the world, joining Great Britain. And in the end of that, 9 million military members dead, countless millions dead, civilians, all for 128 American civilians. Now, every life is precious, but that, folks, that is evil. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he did not end the Great Depression. He only prolonged that. We know that to be an absolute fact. Does that sound familiar? The thought, no other president carried as much disdain and flippant disregard for the Constitution than FDR. Now, I think he's got a competitor. And no president dismissively broke its rules more frequently. By doing so, he set the precedent that the executive branch, charged to enforce the rulings of other two, could actually just enforce whatever it liked. A notion which greatly restricts freedom to this country to this day. This written in 2012 by The Thought, and the link in that description is right there as well. He had a second Bill of Rights. So we're just showcasing two presidents who had total disdain and disregard for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, had their own ideas, had their own self-esteem, and thought that they were the better, the best, and they knew better than everybody else. Sounds like the Democrats of today, doesn't it? No, we're talking 100 years ago, folks. Right after that, Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ. This by the week, Damian Linker. Bloody debacle of the Vietnam War and not fighting to win. My personal thoughts on the Vietnam War. Yes, if it was a war, a battle against communism, that's fine. But fight the damn thing to win. Don't get us wrapped up in these Iraqi wars. Don't get us wrapped up in Afghanistan. Don't get us wrapped up decades and decades and trillions of dollars later. Go in there and get in there to win it. Well, Democrats don't go in to win anything. They go in to make money. We see how that was. Woodrow Wilson, billions and billions of dollars to his good buddies and his good friends, as well as the beginning of the Bush dynasty. Yes, that's a fact. The beginning of the Bush dynasty started in the government alongside Woodrow Wilson. All right, let's jump back into LBJ. The Civil Rights Act. A lot of Democrats like to say, oh, LBJ, the Civil Rights Act. Yeah? Well, let me tell you this, Candace Owens does an incredible job debunking that, and it's actually the beginning of the end on Black Americans and the war on poverty under LBJ, the breaking up of the Black homes from fatherless homes and women now being dependent upon welfare and the welfare state, suppressing Blacks, the war on poverty. Johnson announced his wildly unrealistic goal of eliminating poverty prior to formulating any concrete ideas about how it might be achieved. Johnson starts by proposing that the U.S. move not only towards a rich society and the powerful society, but upwards to the great society. This is all done by government intervention. We know for a fact the government does nothing efficient or really good. War aside, the government absolutely has to fight the wars, and wars are usually not efficient whatsoever. And yes, there's a lot of bloodshed. So as we move right along, Barack Obama. Because Barack Obama is trending today. Did Obama? And the answer is yes. Yes, Obama did. Completely unqualified to be president of the United States. He went from community disorganizer to senator to president. Boom, boom, boom. Nothing qualifies him to be president of the United States. Told anyone who would listen in his first year in office, first couple of years in office, that he was born for the job. I was born and bred for this. I got this. I was walking around the White House telling everybody, I got this. Removal of private health care. Same thing that Adolf Hitler did. Had much disdain for the Constitution, circumvented it at any turn. Executive orders, did whatever he wanted. The Iran deal, not a treaty because it'd have to be voted on. Just all kinds of awful things that Barack Obama did to circumvent the Constitution. Also, working to get Bo Birddog free from the Taliban while giving the Taliban 5 general leaders to go back in the war to fight against Americans, as well as giving the Muslim Brotherhood tens of billions of dollars and F-16 fighter jets and all kinds of stuff, giving it to the evils of Islam. Thank you, Barack Obama. Federal government knows better. The federal government should dictate to everyone how laws, rules, regulations should be. And speaking of regulations through the roof under Barack Obama, unelected officials writing law. Policies extended the Great Depression. Does that sound familiar? This at common sense wise. Did Barack Obama administration supply guns to drug cartels? They did. Then he sealed related documents invoking executive privilege. Did Obama empower violent activists against cops? He invited them, not cops, to the White House. Did Obama administration transfer $6 billion to activist groups? News is he did. And this individual, I'll debunk this for you. He put up hashtag, did Obama know who the Justice Department serves? Put up a meme under Barack Obama. It says, Obama to Justice Department attorneys, you don't serve me, you serve the American people, and I expect you to act with independence. We know that was never true, but anyways, we'll take it at his word. And then under Donald Trump on Justice Department. I have the absolute right to do what I want to do with the Justice Department. And he says, sees the difference between a real president and a wannabe dictator. Okay, let's debunk this real quick. First off, Barack Obama says what may be true, but leaves out fact and the rest of the story. Donald Trump, absolutely. He is the head of the Justice Department. That is part of the executive branch. I'm sorry, friends. If Donald Trump wants to fire the Attorney General, he can fire the Attorney General. Donald Trump wants to fire Mueller, he absolutely can fire Mueller, the FBI, the CIA, all heads of state. That is his department. Sorry. This is not a dictator. This is a president being president, and we see that on full display with Donald Trump, the decision-making processes that he has. And as we get into now this article, incredible article, I've referenced it once or twice, but I want to get into some of the details of truly what Democrats and their ideologies and their policies will lead to. So if Barack Obama was allowed to stay in office, if we didn't remove John Boehner, who said impeachment's off the table, if we didn't do all that and Barack Obama was allowed to continue his reign of terror, this is what it would lead to. A Hugo Chavez situation, a Fidel Castro situation, Venezuela situation. This is what it leads to, and even worse. History is repeating itself by allowing these Democrats, these evil leftist Democrats, to continue terrorizing its citizenry, gaslighting with lying, propaganda, calling what is right bad, and calling what is bad right. Pol Pot, in case you guys don't know, bring up Pol Pot, communist movement in Cambodia. He attempted to cleanse the country, and it resulted in the deaths of an estimated 1.7 to 2.5 million people. We see this where they want to silence people in America. We see this where Democrats want to put in policies where you can't speak up or speak out if you have a differencing of an opinion. If you are a black conservative, Democrats hate you for speaking out against them. I'm not saying that they're trying to kill people. However, if you go up against an evil dictator like Pol Pot and you speak out, they've got the great cleanse. We go to Hideki Tojo in World War II. He's responsible for 5 million deaths. His version of Homeland Security was approving eugenics. Where do we get that? Margaret Sanger in the Democrat Party? Planned Parenthood or Planned Murder? Anyways, eugenics measures which essentially made a distinction between pure blood and mixed blood Japanese families. he really bought into the Nazi Kool-Aid and held steadfastly with Germany. This a great article as well. The link is there in the description to jump over and read the full article. I'm just going to highlight some of the top ones. But yes, this is what the Democrats have done with the KKK, and we saw in World War II and the Nazis that thought the Democrats were going a little too far with the pure blood and slavery. Leopold II of Belgium, credited with 2 to 15 million deaths, created a colony called the Congo Free State, enslaved its people, and forced them into labor camps. Yes, that's what he did. He went down to the Congo and actually founded the Congo. It's huge, much, much larger than Belgium, and convinced the world that he should be allowed to rule. He was going to create a free state, and it was going to be a peaceful place on earth. Turns out he turned it into a slave state, and this is the propaganda that he gave to the world of being free. And in reality, we see what the Democrats actually wind up doing. Again, Venezuela. Adolf Hitler. Yes, we've got to mention Adolf Hitler. He was the leader of the Nazi Party, which the Nazi Party admired the KKK and what the Democrats were doing. The Nazi Party admired Islam and actually linked arms with the Islamic Muslims and the reign of terror on the Jewish community. Adolf Hitler, he was the absolute dictator of Germany from 34 to 1945. Nazi forces engaged in the systematic murder of as many as 17 million civilians, an estimated 6 million of whom were Jews, 1.5 million Romanians. Joseph Stalin, 23 million deaths. First secretary of the Communist Party in 1922 and 1953. After Lenin's death in 1924, he became the leader of the Soviet Union. Stalin didn't take long to launch a new economy. Yeah, right? Will fundamentally transform America. That ideology he put in place screwed up the food production across the entire country so bad it caused a mass famine. Stalin launched another wonderful titled initiative called the Great Purge, also known as the Great Terror. It was a paranoid campaign to kill the people who opposed him, and his targets were often executed. If you are a conservative, the Democrats and the left oppose you, and they will silence you. They're attempting to do that on social media and platforms across the board. And as we get to the worst of the worst, and this is how it goes, guys. If unfettered, unreigned terror, along with propaganda, and Mao Zedong did the greatest of propagandas, if you ever would. People over there in China actually still believe to this day that his first 5 years were very productive. Somewhere between 70-80% good ideas that Mao had. Total propaganda of the citizenry, and that's why this kind of stuff continues. His policy reforms like the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, where have we heard those ideas? He organized mass repressions, established execution quotas, and defended his actions in these early years as necessary for securing power for the People's Republic of China. It's all for the people. It's all for the betterment of you. I'm doing this to keep you secure. Give up all your freedoms and I will keep you secure. Well, you'll lose your freedoms and your security because you don't deserve both. Benjamin Franklin. The first was an effort to rapidly industrialize China. The government attempting to create an industry. Yeah. This has never worked in all of human history. His focus was on making China a premier exporter of steel, and to this end, he asked everyone, hey, make steel. Everybody makes steel, and then all of a sudden, you had people making steel in their backyards, using pots and pans and melting it down. Whatever household stuff they had to melt down making steel, which wound up becoming garbage steel. Awful, awful steel. Nobody was buying it. There's no money. All of a sudden, now we have up to 20 million people starving in China because of this horrific idea, asking people to do something they know nothing about. Right, exactly. Mao started the Socialist Education Program, which I also refer to the Department of Education in America as the Socialist Education Department. Guys, this was founded by Jimmy Carter, made it its own independent department so that it could be funded to the tune of billions of dollars. Our children not getting any smarter and actually being hindered and getting worse. But anyways, back to Mao. He aimed the concept at young ones who would eventually wrest the power away from the old guard. See, Mao was actually taken out of power and said, "Ooh, dude, too bad, bad. You can't be like this." So they re-educated the children, and when they became of age, they took the power back, the votes back from the old guard and gave it back to Mao because of the propaganda. By 1964, this movement was renamed the Four Cleanups Movement, whose goal was to cleanse politics, economics, ideas, and organizations of reactionaries. Be careful, folks. This is on the verge of being real here in America. The Red Guard, they were told and ordered to kill all those who disagreed with the movement. This is extremely dangerous. This is the opposite of Donald Trump. This is the opposite of Christians. This is the opposite of Jews and their ideologies and their cultures. Down to the countryside movement. Another great movement which forced young intellectuals to move out to the country to become farmers because they needed to farm food. This led up to 7 million deaths because they were forced to do something they knew nothing about. 100 Flowers movement, which just needs an abbreviated mention here. Mao asked people to come forth and tell me, how should I govern China? You advise me. Things are going really bad. We've got bad depression. We've got famine going on. You give me ideas. No, I'm serious. Everyone is free to speak. Coincidentally, and not shocking or surprising, about 500,000 came up to talk to him and give him ideas, and they all wound up mostly dead or in prison camps. His policies and political purges from 1949 to 1976 caused the deaths between 49 to 78 million people. And again, I gotta reiterate this. The people of China to this day believe his first 5 years, up to 75% of it was good. Guys, we got to keep talking about this every single day. We've got to expose the Democrats for who they are. I felt compelled to do a different show because I wanted to showcase the ideas of the left. Dinesh D'Souza does a fantastic job exposing the left, the KKK, the racist, bigoted, sexist, homophobe ideologies that they are. They're past their history. There has never been a big flip. Democrats did not flip to Republicans. Republicans never flipped to Democrats. Democrats have always been the party of slavery because it has been, whether it was started that way or not, is irrelevant. The evilness of the world that wants to enslave most of the citizenry hijacked, took over, and said, this is our party. We are the Democrats. The Civil War had to happen. Lincoln, Republicans. We told the Democrats, no longer are you allowed to enslave people. Democrats voted 100% against the Republicans to free the slaves. Democrats voted 100% against the Republicans' Emancipation Proclamation, 14th Amendment. I'm telling you, they have always been this way. They're gaslighting, their propaganda, and now linked arms. We see this so true. Linked arms with mainstream media. Guys, even the guy that works for CNN that was at Roger Stone's house an hour before the dawn raids. We now know he worked directly for the FBI and the higher-ups. Leak anyone? I'm just saying, we got the FBI, CIA, the government weaponized against American citizens during Barack Obama's reign of terror. Hillary Clinton jumping all in on the lies, the cheat, the steal, whatever it took. We saw the evils behind them. We saw the evils behind the Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, All of them. Sally Yates. I'm telling you, every single one of them. There is not one single Democrat. If anybody votes for a Democrat this time around, 2019, 2020, there's blood on your hands, because I don't know a single Democrat out there that it's worthy of a vote, that's worthy of actually even being in office. And as we look at AOC and 3, we see the same ideologies as what I've just showed you here. Islam and the new caliphate, not denouncing Sharia law, which is nothing more than just enslavement. I was at the Home Depots the other day, and not promoting Home Depots or putting them down or anything, but I was just over there the other day, just a regular big box store, and I saw, for the first time here on the west side of Cincinnati, guys, it's happening. I saw a woman dressed in garb, head to toe. She did have her face exposed a little bit, but yeah, Islam, completely covered in all black, head to toe. Not allowed to beautify herself, having to be under the guise of oppression, under the guise of this notion that, this is a part of our doctrine. This is part of our religion. No, it's not a religion. It's a cult. It's a cult of suppression. It's a cult of slavery. Democrats linking arms with them. Democrats linking arms with communists, because who you run with is who you are. I'm just saying. Anyways, guys, this is for Tuesday Thoughts. I'm telling you, we've got to continue getting this out. This is New Right Network's original series, SmythTV, your host, Brian Smith. Jump down in the description below, crush the Patreon, crush the PayPal, and click the link for the show notes. Share that to your friends and your family, because the video embed is part of that article. I don't know what else. I'm just saying, we put the Democrats on display, putting them on notice. This is who they are, and we'll keep speaking out against it. All right, guys, for Tuesday, I'll see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to New Right Network, mobilizing, countering, energizing. Online at newrightnetwork.com.